Hi, I'm Scotty Ogden, and I'm going to change the way you hire people. If you own a small business, you might find recruiting very, very daunting. Many businesses struggle in this area, and trust me, I did too. One thing I used to do is I would hire the first person that contacted me. I never had a process for my recruiting system. We would spend so much time hiring the wrong person, and then we would spend all this time training this person, and then he would just leave. And then we would have to start over again. And that made it really complicated. I learned to be more proactive and build a systematic way to hire the right candidate. Here are 5 really good steps for hiring the right candidate. Number 1, write an ideal candidate profile. Before you write a job ad, you really should sit down and write a profile of who you're looking for. So when they show up, you recognize them. Here are some things you should include in your ideal candidate profile. The reason you need to fulfill this role, culture and core values, and you need to determine the deliverables for the role. You also want to include preferences and abilities. And lastly, a set of experiences needed to fulfill that role. Number 2, write a really compelling job ad. Spend some good quality time creating a detailed ad. Try to provide details about your company as to why the candidate should work for your company. Here's some other things you can list in your job ad. A really compelling job title and description. What specifically your company does. Make sure to include attributes and abilities, responsibilities and duties, qualifications and skills. And lastly, don't forget about salary and benefits. When you post your ad, make sure you post them on all your social media platforms, as well as possibly like Craigslist or Indeed. Those are great job posting places. Number 3 is create a conversion call template. You want to have a list of questions to ask the candidate on the phone so you can pre-qualify them before you actually sit down for an interview. Things you want to include in your conversion call template would be where they live, can they get to the job site, their work experience level, do they have a car or driver's license, are they currently employed, their name, their phone number, their email, maybe their marital status, just typical things that kind of reflect what you wrote in the ideal candidate profile. Number 4 is conduct a focused interview. Plan a day or a time that you can sit down with the candidate for 1 hour. Don't give it 2 or 3 because you don't want to waste any time. But this is a crucial step. Sit down, have a focused interview. I like asking open-ended questions. It allows the candidate to actually talk and tell stories. And while they talk and tell stories, you get a feel for their characteristics. An example of a great question is, tell me about a situation at a former job where there was conflict. What happened and how did you deal with it? And then sit back and listen to what they have to say about it and take some mental notes. Make sure you have a little checklist as to what you're writing on. Number 5, which I think is the most important part of the entire hiring process, is the reference checks and interviews. You really want to get 3 good references, and not just your candidate's brother or mom, but past, current employers and supervisors. And you need a list of 3, maybe 4, but contact each one of those. If 2 of them don't answer the phone, call the candidate back and get another 2. You really want to reach out to their references and check the credibility. And there's a list of questions that you can ask. The best question I like to ask is, would you hire this person again? You want to confirm everything that that candidate has told you, the time they worked for you, what their duties were, what they did, and how they responded to conflict. Following through with the reference interview is essential in validating the candidate's qualification and work history. And here's the moment you've all been waiting for. What makes a good candidate? Well, is the candidate on time? Are they confident? Will they ask you for the job? Are they presentable? Do they care about what they look like? Do they have knowledge in the construction industry? Is this the type of person you need? Do they have tenacity and they're going to be the go-getter and get the job done? And do they offer their help rather than look for what they can gain from your company? Here are some red flags to look out during the interview process. Is the candidate late? We don't want that. Is the candidate's personal hygiene offensive to you? Do they know it all? We don't want to know it all. Do they ask for an advance? This has always been a big one for me. We get to the very end of the interview and they say, can you give me some cash so I can get to the job? Do they have transportation? If they say no, there's a red flag. Or if they say, I've got experience in construction. I helped my brother build his renovation. That's not experience. That's just him helping someone. Do they focus on compensation more than how they can help the company? And do they quote lines from your job ad or your website? I mean, they're just saying what you want to hear. They don't actually want to be authentic. So these are some red flags to really look out for. And here's the last category I'm going to talk about is what not to do when recruiting. You don't want to hire the first candidate that gives you a phone call. When you're doing an interview, you don't want to talk more than the candidate. You don't want to talk about money first. That's not what this is about. If you don't do your reference checks, that is a big no-no. You also don't want to hire just the same race or gender. Be diverse. You don't want to make job posts too short, focusing on compensation rather than culture and experience. If you got to the end of this video, that means you're really interested in what we have to say. We have a lot more information on our website, in our blog. We do have the link, it's in the bio. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a lot more content to come. Thank you for watching.